watching World News program with me, Mariam Zien, coming to you live from Algiers. To the headlines. Algeria confirms it has taken note of the demand for 12 Algerian consular staff to leave French territory. It stresses that the current tension is the result of a completely fabricated case by Interior Minister Retailleau, and reiterates that the arrest of the Algerian consular employee violates all norms and conventions. Also coming up, dozens have been killed or wounded in ongoing Israeli airstrikes on the Gaza Strip amid growing warnings of an imminent humanitarian collapse. Hamas says it is ready to negotiate a comprehensive deal, stressing that the era of partial agreements is over. In Sudan, the army has taken control of new areas in Durman. The UN reports that nearly 400,000 people have fled Zamzam camp in Darfur due to escalating violence, and the G7 is calling for an immediate ceasefire. Tehran says it has the right to enrich uranium, and it's non-negotiable. It also announced that the second round of nuclear talks will take place in Rome instead of Muscat. Meanwhile, Iranian and Russian officials are expected to meet in Moscow for further discussions. Hello and welcome back to the details of our program. First in our news, Sofiane Chayeb, Secretary of State to the Algerian Foreign Minister in charge of the national community abroad, said Algeria has taken note of France's decision to expel 12 Algerian consular staff and summon its ambassador in Algiers. In a statement to Channel 3 of the Algerian radio, Mr. Chayeb reaffirmed Algeria's clear decision to expel 12 French consular employees from the Interior Ministry, calling it a justified response to the unprecedented crisis caused by the arrest of an Algerian consular employee in Paris.
We have taken note of this decision, though the full details regarding the individuals involved are not yet clear. We regret this step, as we stated in our April 14 statement. The expulsion of 12 French consular employees linked to the French Interior Minister is justified, especially given the unprecedented tension caused by the minister over the arrest of an Algerian consular staff member. While we acknowledge the decision, we also recall our latest statement affirming Algeria's ability to respond firmly and take reciprocal measures in line with the principle of mutual treatment should further actions be taken.
Mr. Chayeb stressed that the current crisis and tensions between Algeria and France are the result of a conspiracy, a staged affair, and a completely fabricated case orchestrated by the French Interior Minister.
The current crisis and tensions are a direct result of the fabricated conspiracy and staged affair entirely orchestrated by the French Interior Minister. Not only did he manufacture this case, but he also revived an old issue dating back more than 8 months concerning an alleged abduction of an individual who was unfortunately used to undermine bilateral relations and the positive momentum sought by the leaders of both countries. The role of this minister has been clearly condemned, and his responsibility in fueling this crisis was outlined in our statement, which set the record straight regarding this latest development.
The Secretary of State to the Algerian Minister of Foreign Affairs in charge of the national community abroad also affirmed that the arrest of the consular Algerian employee who remains in pre-trial detention is a measure that disregards all rules related to the privileges and immunities of consular staff.
We once again highlight the unprecedented approach taken in this case. We are speaking about a consular employee who holds privileges and immunity, yet remains at the time of speaking under pre-trial detention and interrogation. In light of this exceptional and unjustified treatment, we have decided to expel the 12 employees affiliated with the French Ministry of the Interior.
And since becoming France's interior minister 7 months ago, Bruno Retailleau has followed a clear path using tension with Algeria to boost far-right support, while also revealing France's growing double standards in its foreign policy. Marwa Belawar has the report.
For 7 months, French Interior Minister Bruno Retailleau has turned his office into a political tool, using hostility toward Algeria to court the far right and advance personal ambitions. His attempt to deport an Algerian citizen in violation of bilateral protocols met with a strong Algerian response, exposed a pattern of provocation actions, from accusing Algeria of humiliating France to calling for the revision or cancellation of the 1968 agreement, now seen by observers as effectively defunct. Retailleau then escalated further, ordering the arrest of an Algerian consular staffer in Paris based on what Algeria calls a fabricated case revived from outdated files, a move the Algerian Foreign Ministry labeled a conspiracy driven by political motives. France's claim that the case falls under judicial authority highlights the country's double standards, especially as other French ministries push for the release of individuals already sentenced by Algerian courts. By overstepping his role and encroaching on the foreign minister's mandate, Retailleau has undermined diplomacy and inserted himself into Algerian sovereign affairs far beyond the remit of his position.
And moving on now to news in the occupied Palestinian territories, 10 Palestinians were killed and others wounded early Wednesday in an Israeli airstrike targeting Al Tufah neighborhood east of Gaza City. The attack comes amid intense aerial, ground and naval bombardment targeting the entire Gaza Strip. And 3 Palestinians were killed and others wounded in an Israeli airstrike targeting a house in Jabalia, al-Nazla, northern Gaza, early Wednesday. According to local sources, the strike came amid intensified ground and aerial bombardment across the besieged enclave.
We were sleeping peacefully in our home, nothing with us, nothing. Suddenly, a missile destroyed everything, as you can see. 3 children were martyred. The eldest was about 10 years old, the second was 5, and the third, Muhannad al-Hasi, was around 3. He was unrecognizable. We found him in the neighbor's house. We just want to live like other people. We want our children to live. You've already deprived us of so much. I had hoped to live like everyone else. Please let us live. Have mercy on us.
The Palestinian Ministry of Health announced that 25 people were martyred and 89 others wounded in the past 24 hours. In a statement issued Wednesday, the ministry said the number of victims from the renewed genocide campaign since March 18 has risen to 1,652 martyrs and 4,391 wounded. The total death toll from the ongoing Israeli assault on Gaza has now reached 51,025 martyrs, with at least 116,432 others wounded. And Gaza's field hospital official, Dr. Marwan al-Homs, announced that 73% of general surgery services in the Strip have stopped due to the ongoing war and lack of medical supplies. He added that 99% of cardiac catheterization and open heart surgery services are non-functional, along with a 33% loss in orthopedic care, posing a grave risk to wounded patients amid continued shortages.
We have lost around 99% of interventional cardiology and open heart surgery services, 73% of general surgery services, and 83% of orthopedic services, which is the most critical and in-demand specialty during wartime.
The government media office in Gaza warned that the humanitarian situation in the region is on the brink of complete collapse, citing Israel's ongoing blockade and systematic starvation of civilians for over 6 months. In a statement issued Tuesday, the office called the situation a deliberate war crime, condemning international silence and complicity in what it described it as collective punishment of Gaza's residents.
We warn of the impending complete humanitarian collapse in the Gaza Strip due to the policy of systemic siege and starvation. What is happening in Gaza is not a temporary crisis, but rather a deliberate starvation crime that amounts to war crimes committed by the Israeli occupation forces with international complicity and silence, particularly from the countries that provide political and military cover for the occupation in committing the crime of genocide.
The United Nations Relief and Works Agency UNRWA announced that its food stocks brought into Gaza during the ceasefire period have run out. In a statement, UNRWA said its warehouses are now empty and more than 2.1 million Palestinians are trapped in Gaza under Israeli bombardment and facing starvation. Hamas has affirmed its readiness to negotiate a single comprehensive deal that would lead to a permanent ceasefire, the complete withdrawal of Israeli forces from Gaza, the reopening of crossings, and the launch of reconstruction efforts in exchange for a serious and honorable prisoner exchange. In a press conference Wednesday, Hamas official Bassem Naim said that the era of partial deals in exchange for food and water while genocide continues is over. The military wing of the Palestinian Islamic Jihad movement, the Al-Quds Brigades, released a video of the captured Israeli soldier Baruch Barzilovsky, in which he held Netanyahu and his government responsible for failing to secure his release in a prisoner exchange deal with the resistance. He stressed that the continuing of the war will not bring any of the captives home. Let's take a look.
I'm suffering all day long. I don't know what to do with my life. My health status is very critical. You cannot imagine. You cannot imagine my physical condition either. Where do you want to go? What are you going to do with us? What are your next steps? What are you going to do? What will happen tomorrow? Every day from right to left and from up to down, only bombs which don't stop, don't end. The next bomb will fall on my head. My blood is on your hand, Prime Minister Netanyahu. I voted during the last elections for Ben Gvir. I voted for you, Ben Gvir, not to let me die here in Gaza. The very Gaza Strip that you didn't stop shelling, closing without food and water. And us, the Israeli prisoners, are here, suffering every day. We are suffering and suffering.
And as Palestinians mark Prisoners' Day on April 17, their fight for freedom continues, with the rising number of detainees in Israeli jails serving as a powerful reminder of a struggle that's been going on since 1948. Hossein Barkana's report.
Before 1974, April 17 held no special meaning for Palestinians. But from that year on, it became Palestinian Prisoners' Day, a date that reflects not just symbolism, but a deep ongoing pain rooted in the 1948 Nakba, when captivity became a destiny and prison cells turned into arenas of resilience, just like other fronts of resistance.
Allahu Akbar!
October 7, 2023 marked a turning point in the prisoners' cause. Since then, arrest numbers have surged dramatically. Nearly every Palestinian household in Gaza, the West Bank, and Al-Quds has been affected. Since the start of the war on Gaza, there has been 16,400 arrests, including thousands from Gaza, bringing the total number of prisoners to over 9,000. Among them are women, minors, the elderly, sick, and children, all caught in a policy of collective punishment. arrest is not an exception for the occupation. It is a long-standing system. Tactics range from mass detentions and night raids to sham trials and administrative detention without charge. Around 3,500 Palestinians are currently held under administrative detention, according to rights organizations. The major shift after October 7 has been the arrest of former prisoners, educated, professional, and active figures in Palestinian society. To the occupation, anyone who spread awareness or hope is a threat. Former detainees describe these prisons as scenes from horror films, exposing brutal and sadistic treatment. For decades, the prisoners' cause has stood at the heart of the Palestinian struggle, alongside the fight for land and the right of return. Just as land is stolen daily, so too is freedom. And while martyrs may be gone in body, prisoners remain forcibly disappeared behind the bars of the occupation.
Elsewhere, the Sudanese army has announced advances in western Omdurman, reclaiming control over 3 areas and a military camp from the Rapid Support Forces. In a statement, the army confirmed it had retaken the neighborhoods of Al-Safwa, Al-Hilla, Al-Jadida, and the village of Al-Safira, along with the Conan camp previously held by the RSF. The army added that its forces are continuing to advance in the region to eliminate remaining RSF pockets and reported the destruction of several RSF combat vehicles. And according to the UN's International Organization for Migration, between 60,000 and 80,000 families, or up to 400,000 individuals, have fled the Zamzam camp in North Darfur after it fell under the control of the Rapid Support Forces. The UN said in a report that preliminary figures from local sources indicate that over 300 civilians were killed in clashes that erupted last Friday and Saturday around Zamzam and Abu Shouk displacement camps, as well as in El Fasher, the capital of North Darfur. And the group of 7 major industrial nations has called for an immediate and unconditional ceasefire in Sudan as the war between the army and the Rapid Support Forces enters its 3rd year. In a joint statement, the G7 stressed that the path to peace requires the Sudanese armed forces and the RSF to engage seriously and constructively in negotiations that serve the interests and stability of the Sudanese people. And in other news, Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi stated that Iran's right to enrich uranium is a legitimate and non-negotiable matter. Speaking on Wednesday during a government session, Araghchi criticized contradictory statements from U.S. officials during indirect negotiations with the U.S., emphasizing that such positions will not be effective and that the U.S. cannot achieve anything through pressure.
As I mentioned, during this period, we have heard contradictory and conflicting stances. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff has spoken in various ways. The true stances will become clear at the negotiating table. What is certain is that Iran's enrichment is a real, accepted, and factual matter, and we are prepared to build confidence regarding potential concerns, but the principle of enrichment is non-negotiable.
An Iranian state television reported on Wednesday that the anticipated talks between Iran and the U.S. on Tehran's nuclear program will be held this Saturday in the Italian capital, Rome, rather than in Oman as previously announced. The report added that the second round of talks will take place in Rome, with Oman's foreign ministry once again hosting the negotiations. The International Atomic Energy Agency Director General Rafael Grossi has warned that Iran is not far from developing a nuclear weapon. In an interview with the French newspaper Le Monde ahead of his visit to Tehran, Grossi stated that merely denying the possession of nuclear weapons is not enough in the eyes of the international community. The agency must be able to verify such claims, he said. And Russian state media announced that the Iranian Deputy Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi will visit Russia on Thursday ahead of next week's second rounds of talks between Tehran and Washington over the Iranian nuclear issue. Meanwhile, Iranian state media reported on Wednesday that Araghchi will deliver a message from Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei to Russian President Vladimir Putin during the visit. And the Kremlin has said that Moscow remains ready to assist in resolving the Iranian nuclear issue through political and diplomatic means. Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov emphasized that any guarantees provided by Russia and China for a US-Iran agreement will depend on the outcome of negotiations between Washington and Tehran. He added that Moscow is continuing on a successful second round of talks between the two sides. Algerian President Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces and Minister of National Defense, received the Mauritanian Minister of National Defense, Veterans and Descendants of Martyrs, Hnanna Ould Sidi Ould Hnanna, along with his accompanying delegation. According to a statement from the Algerian presidency on Wednesday, the meeting was also attended by the Minister Delegate to the Minister of National Defense, Army Chief of Staff General Saïd Chingriha, the Director of the Presidential Office Boualam Boualam, and the President's Advisor for Security and Defense Affairs Boumediene Benatou. And following his meeting with President Tebboune, the Mauritanian Defense Minister Hnanna Ould Sidi said that Algeria and Mauritania are bound by strong and historical ties, stressing his country's keenness to continuously deepen cooperation with Algeria in order to strengthen the strategic relationship between the two countries.
حظيت بشرف الاستقبال.
I had the honor of being received by His Excellency President Abdelmajid Tebboune, and I convey to His Excellency the greetings of his brother, His Excellency President Mohammed Ould Sheikh Al Ghazouani, and his best wishes of development, progress, and prosperity for him and for the Algerian people. I also convey to him his pride of the strong and historic ties that unite the two brotherly peoples, as well as his desire to constantly strengthen bilateral cooperation in consolidation of the strategic partnership that unites them. His Excellency President Abdelmajid Tebboune entrusted me with conveying his greetings to his brother, Mohammed Ould Sheikh Al Ghazouani, affirming in his turn his desire to deepen the strategic partnership between the two brotherly countries.
And in the same context, Algeria and Mauritania signed a defense cooperation agreement on Wednesday. According to a statement from the Algerian Ministry of Defense, Army Chief of Staff General Saïd Chingriha signed the agreement alongside Mauritanian Defense Minister Hnanna Ould Sidi Ould Hnanna. The Minister Delegate to the Minister of National Defense and Chief of Staff of the Algerian Army, General Saïd Chingriha, stressed the need to strengthen cooperation with Mauritania, given the strategic importance marking Algerian-Mauritanian relations and the pivotal role of their cooperation in the regional stability. In a speech during his meeting with the visiting Mauritanian Minister of Defense, General Saïd Chingriha said that the challenges facing the region require strengthening joint action, coordination, and the exchange of expertise in areas of common interests.
The strategic importance of Algerian-Mauritanian relations does not emanate only from the common elements that unite our two countries, but also lie in the pivotal role this cooperation plays in the stability of the entire region. Besides, the security, economic, and geopolitical challenges facing our region require more than ever before the consolidation of joint action according to comprehensive vision based on dialogue, coordination, and the exchange of expertise and best practices in the fields of common interest. From this perspective, Algeria, under the leadership of Abdelmajid Tebboune, the President of the Republic, Supreme Commander of the Armed Forces, and Minister of National Defense, endeavors to strengthen its bilateral relations with Mauritania in various areas, especially in security, as we, in Algeria, believe that the security and stability of our two countries require the highest possible level of consensus, coordination, and consultation.
And for his part, the Mauritanian Minister of Defense praised Algeria's pioneering role in establishing security in the region, commending the depth of relations and good neighborliness between Algeria and Mauritania.
لقد ظل التعاون العسكري بين موريتانيا والجزائر مثالا يحتذى.
Military cooperation between Mauritania and Algeria has become an example to follow in the Maghreb and African region in terms of exchange of expertise, field coordination, and training. We highly commend Algeria's leading role in supporting regional stability. The strength of historical and geographical ties between our two countries makes each one of them an important security ally for the other in strength and peace.
ويضعف بضعفه ويأمن بأمنه.
The program has come to an end. If you missed any part of it, you can always check our websites and platforms that are available around the clock. Thank you for watching again, and bye-bye.